had a little bit of trouble in Atsugi, a couple of accidents. It was my second year there, and I was in charge of maintenance, and we was out in the field. It's the airport, and they got a mock runway where jets come and catch the cable. The cable is the E-28 arresting gear. We were actually doing maintenance on it. Picture this. You got a regular bicycle and you got a sprocket. Times that by 50, huge. And it goes around, it has this big chain, and it retrieves the cable back and forth. So we was doing maintenance on it. We just wiped it all down, and we were gonna engage it. One of my leaders said, hands up, hands free. That means stop what you're doing. We're gonna have a lot of pieces moving around. But unfortunately, I had a rag tied around my hand that I was using to clean. So the so-called sprocket grabbed the towel, grabbed my hand. I went down and took off a couple of fingers.
With us today, we have a special guest here today, Mr. Anthony Berry, who has, again, served in the United States Navy for 30 years, and we're really, really excited about some of the insights, some of the information, wisdom, and just overall Navy journey, again, that he's going to be able to bestow upon us. So I'm really excited with that. Mr. Anthony Berry, I did want to kind of touch bases with you, but first and foremost, I do want to thank you so much for being able to come down, give us a lot more information, and not only that, be able to, really educate our audience. So first and foremost, thank you so much, and it's an honor for you to have you here.
Well, you're welcome. It's my pleasure to be here. Actually, it's my honor to be here. I'm ready to help out in any way possible, telling stories, whatever you need. As you know, I was in for 30 years, so I do have a large network of stories and friends, and whatever you want to hear, just ask me and I'm prepared.
Well, with that, throughout this podcast and also our show here, we always want to make sure that our guests always are going to be felt honored, because it is not only able to honor for us to be able to get that information from you, but also we want to go ahead and thank you for your service first and foremost, because we don't all the time get the thanks that we need in regards to veterans, right? A lot of times we're able to get a quick thank you for your service, and that's it, and it fly by. But here we want you to be able to enjoy a safe space to be able to consult, tell your story, and obviously give advice here. So we're really excited about this. So first and foremost, with that being said, I do want to go to make sure that some of the questions, it is going to be directly in regards to the Navy, right? But also, it's also going to be in regards to your personal journey. So feel free, give us anything that you got, okay? So, first question I did want to go ahead and kind of lead with is, what was some of the early onset thoughts on why you wanted to join the military, or should you even join the military?
Well, actually, I was raised in Atlanta, Georgia, and at that time I didn't have a lot of opportunities, except for the music field. I managed a couple of bands back then with my two brothers, but I needed something to pay the bills. And actually, I was sort of into the military ever since I was a little kid. Just watching movies and especially the Navy, how they got a chance to get out and just see the world. So I thought it was time to broaden my horizon a little bit and dream big and just get out in the world and see what it had to offer. At first, I really only wanted to do 4 years. I wanted to do one tour, but I went in. First command was over in Japan on the USS Midway, met a great group of mentors, and from that point on, I just decided to stay in. And over time, it just built up over years and went past so quickly. Ended up being 30, and it was great.
That's great. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Time flies. It really flies.
Nice. So, just through that, going through the process of, going through Atlanta, Georgia. I'm presuming you joined directly out of high school, right?
Directly out of high school.
Okay, and so when you went down to recruiter's office, were there anybody, guiding you, or you just decided to go to the recruitment office, or how did that work?
I was sitting up in class one day. Our teacher just had the common question: what do you plan on doing when you graduate? And went around the classroom, and at that time, I was just excited to graduate, and happy to graduate. So she went around the classroom. You got people saying, I want to join the NBA. I want to be an airline stewardess. I want to join the Army. And at that time, I just didn't know. But luckily, that evening, the night before, I was up watching movies, and I was watching an old Navy movie, and a commercial came on. Big aircraft carrier said, join the Navy, see the world. And that sort of stuck with me. So when it came around to my turn, just to get out of that question, to tell you the truth, I just said I want to join the Navy and see the world. And for the next 3 months, everybody kept asking me about it, and it sort of got embedded in my head. So I decided, me and me only, it was my, my decision. So I decided to go down to the recruiter and get some information. And luckily, I had a good recruiter, and he gave me a little positive information, passing on to my parents, and they gave me the thumbs up.
So you basically, just you're doing your own, obviously own research, going down to the recruitment office. They're giving you their knowledge, and then at that point, we're on our way to MEPS.
That's right.
Nice. So did you get a chance to choose your job or anything that nature? Did you get an opportunity to pass or test into another position?
Well, as you know, certain jobs you have to have certain scores. So I didn't know that at the time. They got study guides you can study, but I just went in there and just gave it my best shot. And scores wasn't that great, but it wasn't that bad either. So I sort of like landed in between. So I had a chance to get maybe 3 or 4 different offers. But I'm more of a hands-on approach type of guy. So I decided to go into the aviation boats and make field, which at that time I ain't know nothing about it. They just said you're gonna work with aircraft and jets and stuff. So, I thought I was gonna go and be a Top Gun, but I went in and I did some pretty rugged work for a while.
I got kind of told that same story too. So when I got kind of going in, right, they tell you, hey, you're gonna be an Airedale. I was like, oh, that sounds great. That sounds awesome. Then next thing you know, I'm cleaning pad eyes for them.
Cleaning pad eyes, and I live right next to the airport in Atlanta, over in East Point. And, for some reason in my mind, I thought I could be an air traffic controller.
Oh, okay.
For some reason. So I had big time dreams, but the education level just wasn't there because I sort of blew that in high school. I should have focused and concentrated more. But I wanted to be an air traffic controller. When he told the recruiter, and they said, we can definitely get you around jets. You take this job, and maybe later on you can test out and get this job, and but we'll get you, in aviation. I was like, okay, great, Airedale. Yeah, but I ended up doing a lot of towing the aircraft, tying them down, but then launch and recovery. So I really got into it, and it turned out to be a great experience. I really loved doing my job. That's why I stayed in so long.
That's great. When you went in, how was boot camp? How was that for you? Because I know boot camp today versus boot camp when you joined, I'm sure it's probably polar opposites now.
Boot camp was difficult at first. As you see in the movies, all the yelling, the screaming, the hard work, the exercise, just the physicality about everything. It was difficult at first, but you just learn to adapt. You gotta have the right mindset, and you just gotta have that motivation. And usually you got somebody pushing you. Your company commander is pushing you. And then when you go in there and you meet different people from around the world, all type of guys from around the States, you just sort of bond as a unit. And then it's just like joining a good football team, basketball team, sports team. You want to go in there and you want to give it your best shot. So it took a while, it was different, but happy to say, boys to men. So
where did you go boot camp? Where?
Orlando, Florida.
You went to Orlando, Florida?
Orlando, Florida.
Oh, dang. Okay. Yeah, I was in Great Lakes. So, like I said, polar opposites.
Yeah, total opposite. And I was satisfied, nice, hot, beautiful, but the weather, when I say hot, it was extremely hot. But that's what I wanted to do. I lucked up and got Orlando, and not too far from Georgia, and I was pretty happy with that.
Nice, nice. So basically, from the challenges of growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, we land ourselves here in basically Orlando, finishing up boot camp. Now, having that transition there, going from boot camp to the fleet. How was that experience? Because everyone's experience, I can almost guarantee everyone that we speak of or everyone that we've interviewed, they always have that transition. Boot camp to the fleet, much different.
Totally different. First of all, when you're in boot camp, in my situation, I was still in the States, so I felt very comfortable. I thought it was going to be a piece of cake. And as you know, they give you something called a dream sheet. They give you a chance to pick different bases you'd like to serve at. Yeah. So me, in my mind, I wanted to be someplace tropical. So of course I picked Florida, and I picked Hawaii, and what was the other place I picked? Florida, California. So that was my top three. So I knew for a fact I was going to get one of them places. I was excited, and they ended up sending me to Japan.
Oh,
Yeah, they ended up sending me to Yokosuka, Japan, totally out of the blue, something I didn't want to do, but I think it was the best choice that I ever accepted. The best choice possible for me to get up out of the States for a while and go see a little bit of the world, because that's what I really wanted to do. And they transferred me over there to the USS Midway. So when you say from boot camp to the fleet, I mean, within months, it turned me into, an independent man, just self-sufficient, because they dropped me off in Yokosuka. A couple of weeks later, they shipped me over to the Superbag, Philippines to wait on the USS Midway, and they just dropped me off.
so you weren't even with your command just yet as when you went overseas.
Right.
Oh, so you had to adapt very quickly in that culture, right?
I went over to Japan. The language barrier was terrible. But one thing that I did enjoy is that they loved us over there. They were respectful, peaceful people. I really had a great time over in Yokosuka. After that, I was only there for like 2 weeks. That was my home port, but the ship wasn't there. The Midway wasn't there. They was out on pack. So they shipped me to the Philippines to wait on the ship. So I went to Subic Bay, and by the time the Midway came in, it was like night and day. It was like coming out of high school, going to boot camp, total culture shock. First seeing Japanese and Filipinos. I never seen Japanese people before, only in the movies. Filipinos, never seen them before, only in the movies. Yeah. So when I first met them, it was culture shock, but they were nice, kind, polite, respectful, made everything a little bit easier.
Nice, man. That's nice. That's awesome. It's just, having to go to so many different places, countries, cities, and do so much of the work the military asks is very difficult, because not every culture is so accepting of Americans, true. Right? So having to deal with that is not only hard for your job, but personally. But you did mention something in regards to transitioning from basically boot camp to the Midway, and it was a culture shock. And not only that, it was a culture shock, but it also, raised you to be very independent. How so?
Well, you couldn't depend on your parents anymore. You couldn't depend on your older brother, your mother, your father. You were actually out there on your own. So the decisions you made was the decision you had to live with. So I felt a little lucky. My mom, she installed some good morals in me. So I made the right decisions. I'm not going to say all my decisions was right. We call them lessons learned, because everybody mess up. So some were bad, some were good. Just as long as you don't keep doing the wrong one, keep making mistake after mistake. Long as you learn as you go along. That didn't come out right, but as you learn as you go along, it's fine. Yeah. I wouldn't trade anything. I wouldn't trade any of my decisions that I made throughout my whole career, matter of fact, because it all molded me into who I am today. I'm not perfect, but I think I had a pretty good career. And I also learned that wherever you go, no matter what culture, if you just treat people how you want to be treated, usually you get that in return. I said in most cultures. Some people, they don't like Americans, but it was far and few to tell you the truth, because over in Japan, respect is respect. You get respect, you get it right back. So that's what I like about Japan.
That's great. That's great. All right. So, man, getting to the fleet now. You're in the fleet. I'm sorry. Where did you start off? When you hit the fleet, was it got to the ship finally? The ship was on deployment. Now you were in the Philippines awaiting your ship. Now you say, where are we in our career? E1, E2, E3. Where are we?
Well, fortunately, I was at E3 at the time. In boot camp, I got automatically advanced. I took over Section 5. I don't know how I did it. It was just take advantage of every opportunity. Never turned down anything. So I stepped up one day and I filled in Section 5, and I was in charge of maybe 10 guys, and I led them down the right path. The next thing you know, when I got out of boot camp, it was automatic E3. So pay raise. So I thought it was great. I was like, man, this is easy. I just do my job, I get a little pay raise. But it got a little more difficult. They call it the politics. So but still, if you do your job, study, represent yourself the right way, you turn out all right, I think.
I think boot camp is one of those things where it could advance you quickly, right? And also doing your job in the fleet could advance you quickly, but there's always challenges, right? Personally, I've had endured some challenges, and I'm sure you have as well. Was there any specific endurance or challenges that you care to share?
Everything was a challenge. I came from Georgia. It was a little bit of racism right and left over there all the time. Once I got out into the fleet, I thought some of that would disappear. But in my early years, you got to remember, we're talking about the 80s. I joined in 1982. Okay. So racism, it was still there. It wasn't that noticeable, but every now and then, it was there. Just knocking on your door, But still, we had some good leadership classes, how to get around it. And as we were learning, they were also learning also. So it gave you a chance to look at different races and see what they're about. And then they put us in a situation where we all had to bond together as a team. And once you bond together as a team, you can really see more insight of that person or that race. And, and you just find out that we're more alike than difference. And if you open your mind and you're just willing to learn, I guess it turns out all right, because I got friends around the world from every race you can think of, and we all still keep in contact from the 80s, So
that's great, man. Lifelong, I think once you carry that bond, right, that bond carries you for the rest of your life. Going to war or going on deployments or even share close quarters with anyone will bond you over time, right? So that's what, again, sharing those experiences, you can only talk to those who actually has been there sometimes. Yeah. What about any type of challenges that you endured just with the experience of your job?
Oh, challenges? Well, aviation boatswain mates, ABs, actually is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. They said it's always been in the top 5.
Well, can you explain what is an aviation boatswain mate?
If you look at any aircraft carrier or amphibious ship, you see the guys up on deck doing directors, what else? Launch officers, arresting gear, fueling guys, anybody up on deck that actually deals with any type of aviation. You got your crewmen up there, your brown shirts, your purple shirts. Purple is fuel. Your yellow shirts are aircraft directors. Your blue shirts, those are your dogs. Those guys up there just jogging and chaining.
Yeah.
towing, they doing the hard work. Much respect because once you get that down pat, you move to the next level. The next level is your yellow shirts. They're in charge of the whole flight deck. They say they talk with their hands because it's all about, hand signals up there. Even though they do have on radios, it's so loud and intense because you're dealing with, it can be 20, 25 jets up there at a time, and a couple helos over there, helicopters over there and here, so you can't hear anything. So, and then you got your red shirt, your crash and salvage team. They're like a portable firefighting unit. I served with them for a while. Very intense. Crash and salvage teams. Every now and then there's accidents. We got to get out there and you got to, save somebody's life or get them out of a cockpit, or you just never know. Fires left and right, so it's dangerous. And that jet exhaust, back in the 80s, everything was a risk. You got to keep your head on a swivel at all times because you got jet blast over here, you got rotary blast over here, and you don't want to get dusted. Dusted is just a form of when you walk behind a jet aircraft and that, exhaust hits you. Mm-hmm. You're like a paper doll. It just blows you down to death. Yeah. Okay. And the average guy, what he do? Jump right back up. It's just like being on a football team. You get hit, you get back up. If you hurt bad, the majority of the time, we never went to medical. We just, it was a pride thing. You jump back up, you get back to work, but inside your body is killing you, So that's why I tell all my veteran friends, I tell everybody, if you're hurting, make sure you go down to medical, get looked at, make sure you get it in your records. So after you get out, you get the proper benefits and the proper medical benefits too when you get out, because you serve your country. So go in there and get your benefits.
Yeah, true indeed. It's just so many different things that you encounter being on a flight deck and just kind of land on landscape. Obviously, when we're talking about a carrier, that's a large surface area that we have so many different jets, planes on, helos on, right? And you guys are pretty much in charge of it all. The fueling, like you said, crash and salvage, chalking and change, so just so much up there. So you always have to, pretty much keeping your head on a swivel and being safe, right? Okay, so where did you start when we're talking about that? When we're talking about your career, where did you start on the flight deck?
Starting on the flight deck, I started as a blue shirt from rock bottom, carrying tie-down chains. Tie-down chains, what you do, what you carry around to secure the aircraft, so they won't move on deck. So chalking and chaining, towing aircraft, hustle and bustle. We work in 19, 20 hours a day back in the day. Because you got to remember, back in the day, in the 80s, the Soviet Union was still a superpower. And over in Japan, we were at the tip of the spear. That's where all the action was. So we was always underway, sort of in competition or some type of battle with the Soviet Union. They would buzz our tower. We had to get up on deck quick as possible, and just the working conditions, the weather was terrible. When you get next to the Soviet Union, the waters it's terrible. It's when you watch movies now and you see the bow go up and down, and you see the ocean coming at you, and when you're out there on deck and, at the time I was like 135 pounds, I was just getting beat up, washed around on deck. But it was an experience. It was fun. Our team members, our blue shirts, yellow shirts, and all of our leadership, they installed such pride in what we did that no matter what, we were gonna get the mission done. So that's what I like about being an AB. We got a saying, it's called ABs and wannabes. You got to be a little cocky, but you got to stay professional, because what we did out there, still to today on these all these aircraft carriers, you still got the same ABs out there running around. Some people think they're cocky, but you got to be cocky to be out there and get the job done, because you're doing a dangerous job. Some people say the Navy is getting they say the military is getting sort of watered down right now. Because a lot of people, I don't know, feelings get hurt a lot easier. But you join the military to be warriors. You got to train like you're a warrior because you never know what your situation is going to be. If you, say if you become a prisoner of war, you think they're going to offer you coffee and tea. You have to be strong-minded. So that's what we do. We try and build up and be warriors because that's what we are.
Yeah.
Even if we're not at war, every time you pull out on the ship, we sort of like, we train like we fight, or we fight like we train. We just want to be on top of everything just in case something happens. So people always say, well, you're not at war, what's so dangerous about it? But we're always training like we're at war. So as soon as we pull away from the pier, we go in that mentality is that it's dangerous. Yeah. And it's always dangerous because you get, jet blasts, people riding around. It's a city out there. It's an entire floating city, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. My first ship was the Midway. Compared to the new carriers right now, like the USS Ford or the Ronald Reagan, you can fit 2 Midways in there, sometimes 3. So it went from here to here, floating cities and excitement.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a huge component, right? A lot of people really don't understand that. We are always training on a regular basis for those live action events. So when the live action events all occur, we've trained so much that we have everything covered. And that's for a lot of young sailors kind of don't understand that at times, right? And I think it's very difficult for leadership to convey it because now having to go through the same motions, the same things, it may save your life though, or it may save the next man's life or woman, So and I think that was a great explanation on how carrying on that because no one really knows what's going to happen. No one really knows.
No one knows. And not only in my rate, aviation boatswain mates, but you got the engineers, you got the cooks, you got supply, you got the RPs, religious petty officers. You got a little bit of everything. In every shop, is a certain amount of danger just being on a floating ship because of the waves, going up and down ladders. It can be difficult just taking a shower or getting a hot meal because it's always, danger. So that's why I say we're always at war. When you get on that ship, when you pull away from that pier, it's about training to go to war, no matter where. It's like muscle memory. Like you train so much that when it actually happens that you just act automatically. Yeah. Like when I was in the Persian Gulf War, we had so many drills that when there were actually incidents where we had Scud missiles launched towards us, that we just reacted like that. And it was just like, it was like a drill, but it was actual fire coming at us. And, yeah. So the crew did outstanding. I was on board the USS New Orleans at the time, and they did outstanding. We reacted, we responded, and everybody turned out all right. So.
Perfect. That's great. I mean, the thing is like you said, leadership. The leadership, it starts from top down, right? A lot of people always say in the bottom up. No, if the bottom is failing, it's because the top is not failing as well.
That's correct.
Right. So, but with that said, it's all. I do want to kind of, go back to the career, right? Because now you're saying that again, you started on the Midway, and when you started on the Midway, what was your rate? I'm sorry, not rate, but rank during that time among the Midway towards your transition to your next command?
Okay, I got to the Midway, as I said, I was a E3. Okay. It's called an airman. I was an E3. When I left the Midway 4 years later, I was an E5. So I went up in rank pretty quickly, not quick enough, but pretty quickly. My mindset was just whatever job I had to do it correct and do it the best. Try to volunteer every now and then, but try to make yourself irreplaceable. So, and no matter what job you did, make yourself irreplaceable. If you're in charge of admin, if you miss a day, make sure they know that they're missing the best computer programmer. Or if you're down on deck, make sure you're missing, if you're out there and you miss a day, make sure that they're going to miss you. That means go out there and compete, do your job, and do it better. And that's how I led my whole entire career. I would go in, I would not only get qualified in my job, but the next level and the next level, I would, get overqualified. So when they looked at my record, they knew I was ready at all times.
Like what? What in qualifications, what do you mean during that time frame from E3 to E5? What were some of the things or extracurricular activities that you did?
Okay, say if I'm up on the flight deck, I was qualified as a chalk and chain walker. At the same time, I would go ahead and go down to the fuels department, and I would get charged. I would learn how to fuel aircraft on my own time. So just for that to be in my record, just to show them that I was ambitious, and that put me head and shoulders above other people. And then when I finally made it up to a yellow shirt, at the same time I was learning to be a red shirt. Crash and salvage, learning how to operate cranes, learning how to rescue people, learning how to, what they call lift aircraft. If it's something like, if it's a crash up on deck, you got to get it out of that area. So we had these big, it's called a tilly. These big cranes, you got to go in, pick them up, jettison the aircraft, whatever you got to do. I always volunteered to take certain classes just to be up there, just in case. So if anything happened up on deck, I wanted to make sure I knew what was going on and I could handle it. And then my promotions just started to grow, left and right. So I advanced pretty quickly. From that point, the Midway, I did 4 years on the Midway. It was time to go. I actually put in an extension, and they gave me another year because I just enjoyed being over there. But then after I left there, I went to Atsugi, Japan. It was the Naval Air Station that provided aircraft to the Midway. So my name was sort of known over there already because of my performance on the Midway. So I sort of just kept it going when I got to Atsugi. And they put me in charge of like a small airport over there. So
Wow. Okay. I think you really hit a great point when, because a lot of people, what they do is they transfer their commands and go somewhere across the water or go somewhere so far that they have to reestablish reputation. Right. It sounds like you did a great duty and a great service to yourself, transitioning somewhere that your name is already ringing bells. Right. To be able to create those relationships, be able to not only create relationships, but get those assigned duty stations where you know is going to advance you and is knowing going to help your career. Okay, so was that strategic or was that something that you just kind of fell into?
Actually, I planned it 100% because at that point, after being in 4 and 5 years, I knew that I was going to stay in a little bit longer. And my mentor sort of gave me some great advice. They said, try and pick and choose the best duty. You can find some place plush and just go and relax and not do too much. But they said, find something challenging and also find something that stays inside your rating. So that's what I decided to do. And it was just, it was like 2 hours away from, Yokosuka. But by what they call them, the air squadrons, when the Midway was in port, the air squadrons were tasked to go up to Atsugi for maintenance. So I knew most of the air guys and got in good with them. A couple of detailer calls, they got up to Atsugi and I was able to keep my relationship going with the people on the Midway, the flight deck, and they become family, they become brothers then. So we all looked out for each other. So I went up there for another, it was only supposed to be 2 years. I stayed 3. I loved it up there also. I worked with the E-28 arresting gear at that time. Even though that wasn't in my field, but that was still up on the flight deck. And as I told you, I tried to make myself irreplaceable. So I learned how to do the, E-28 arresting gear aboard the ship also.
Okay. Well, Master Chief, Listen, it's hard for me to see you running that green shirt, running around that wrestling gig, getting dirty like that.
I didn't get too dirty, but it's other bits and pieces you can do. What do they call it? The barricades. I learned all about the barricades. I learned all about the wrestling gear wires in the back and the cables. It was a good experience. I wasn't an expert, but I knew enough that when I went to Atsui, I got a chance to take over the E28 gear maintenance. So I learned from the inside out. Had a little bit of trouble in Atsui, a couple of accidents, but still.
With the arresting gear or
With the E28 arresting gear.
Oh wow,
Maintenance. It was my second year there, and I was in charge of maintenance, and we was out in the field. When I say out in the field, we was out. It's the airport. It's the airport, and they got a mock runway where jets come and catch the cable. The cable is the E28 arresting gear. We were actually doing maintenance on it, and we was oiling it up. It had a big sprocket. Picture this: you got a regular bicycle, and you got a sprocket. Okay. Times that by 50. Huge, and it goes around, it has this big chain, and it retrieves the cable back and forth, right? So we was doing maintenance on it, and we just wiped it all down, and we were going to engage it so it can turn around and see if everything, is working. Yeah. So one of my leaders said, "Hands up, hands free." That means stop what you're doing. We're going to have a lot of pieces moving around. So stop what you're doing, raise your hands. I want to see everybody's hands so make sure everybody's clear. Cool. We did it, it was like clockwork. We did it so much, you did it without thinking. So he gave the command, hands free. Everybody raised up their hands, including myself. But unfortunately, I had a rag tied around my hand that I was using to clean. So the so-called sprocket grabbed the towel, grabbed my hand, I went down, and it took off a couple fingers. So it actually went around the sprocket, huge sprocket. It could have took my arm. I want to say I sort of had quick response. Of course, if you stick your hand in fire, you're going to go back. So it caught me off guard. Took the towel, my hand went around the sprocket, came back, caught it, my fingers hanging off. So.
Ouch.
In the middle of an airfield. So, yeah. It was a little bit more than ouch.
No, seriously. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. So, so we're in the middle of the airfield with basically your hand mutilated, and now you're just trying to I'm sure you're just trying to get care, right?
Out in the middle of nowhere, the airfield. I was with one other guy, and we had our maintenance truck there. So, but here's the thing about it. The military teaches you so well to think on your feet and just be prepared for anything. When my hand went around there and I caught my hand, it's like I knew what to do already because I trained up on the flight deck, first aid, all kinds of mass casualty drills. So I've been training for years up on the flight deck, and it just all came back to me. I did make another stupid mistake. I grabbed the keys and I was like, let's go. We need to get to medical. So instead of letting this guy drive, I tried to drive with one hand to get in there. So I don't know what I was doing. I was sort of in shock, I guess, but he finally convinced me to take over and let him drive. And so I did. I sat down and I was just thinking, okay, we need to get to the hospital. More than likely, it's gonna take us a while to get there. The guy gonna have to speed. So everything just going through my mind, telling him to be safe, to be sorry. But then I lost it for a minute. So, because blood was everywhere, I'm holding my fingers. So with this hand, it was this hand. With this hand, I hit the windshield. Broke the windshield with this hand. Actually, I cut this hand up, busting the windshield because of pain or whatever it was, frustration, whatever. And also the passenger window, I hit it again, and this hand was almost more bladed than this hand. I don't know what I was thinking, but We made it to the hospital, got out, started running to the emergency room. Got to the emergency room. They didn't know what was going on. We had to explain. Both hands bloody. The tip of my fingers missing here. So I just wanted some relief. You know, save my fingers, give me some pain relief. And at that time, they didn't have a surgeon there because it was just a small airfield. So I had to turn right back around, put me in the ambulance, and take me right back to the airport to fly me off. So I don't know what was going on. No painkillers or nothing. They called in the Huey to get me. They wrapped me up, put me in the aircraft, flew me down to Yokosuka.
Okay.
So they flew me down to Yokosuka. Got in there. Had emergency surgery, and they saved what they could save, and that was it. I had to bounce back after that.
Okay, got it. So basically, once you got to the hospital, at that point, they were able to kind of manage to save your basically the fingers at that point. They were able to kind of get everything situated. But now, I mean, during that time frame, I mean, how did that work with you going to the airfield? Because you were going to the airfield and you busted up both hands. Were they able to do the other hand as well?
Yeah, once I got there, well, in Atsugi, they were able to wrap up one hand. It wasn't that bad, but the other ones that the fingertips was hanging off of, they couldn't do too much, which is just wrap it up. So this hand was minor, this hand was major. By the time I got to Yokosuka, emergency surgery, they told me they were going to take it down to the knuckles. And I was thinking, why down to the knuckles? Only the tips is missing. So I disagreed with that. They brought in another surgeon. The only thing he had to tell me that he'll save as much as possible. And that's what he did. He saved as much as possible. I'm very grateful for that. And he told me I can make a good comeback. I just had, to get some therapy. But it may sound easy, but yeah, it was terrible. I was crying like a baby. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. I told myself it was time for me to get out the military. And I went to the only person that I could actually trust and get the best advice. So I turned to my mom. I called her up in Georgia, and it was real simple. When I talked to her, I was crying. This is back in the day where you had to wait in line to get to a rotary phone, and dial overseas. So by the time I finally got in contact with my mom, I'm crying, hysterical, didn't know what to do, and my mom gave me the best advice ever. She told me, in her words, "Baby, I didn't raise any little girls." Here I am, I'm waiting on some love. Oh, come home, we'll take care of you. And the best advice she gave me was, she said, "Baby, I didn't raise any little girls. It's not that bad. You can bounce back, get out there and do your job." So that's all it took. Tears dried up. Next thing you know, a couple of days later, I'm working in the office. I'm good to go. It took a while to rebuild them, get them back strong. But when it comes down to it, that motherly love brought me through all that. So
that's great. That's great. Yeah, being able to have that leadership, whether it's directly from your actual command itself or mentors or what have you, but also, the person that birthed you was able to give you that extreme leadership, and she ultimately know what you needed, and that was able to put you through. So that's great. So with that, it's just so much to unpack there, right? It sounds like so much your training saved a lot, right? But
definitely.
you also advocated for yourself. I don't think enough, airmen, sailors, soldiers, anyone advocates for themselves in regards to proper medical, because typically they'll pretty much, obviously there was an extreme circumstance, right? But typically they're going to give you some Robitussin, ibuprofen, and tell you keep it going.
Oh yeah. It's especially on ships. You get knocked down. you're hurting, you go down to medical, and usually they just give you some aspirin, some some Motrin, get back up on deck. That's what it was back in the old days. That's why it's very important that you get everything documented, you get the best care you can get, and just because you may get injured and it may not hurt that much that day or that week, but years down the line, it may just pop right back up, especially the back. I was tossed around on deck so many times, and you just get back up. You don't go to medical. You try and shake it off. Yeah. Just like a football tackle, you get back up, shake it off, go back to the huddle. That's what we used to do up on deck. But as you get older, wiser, and smarter, you learn that you need to take care of yourself, and you need to take care of your troops. If you see somebody hurt, make sure you get them the proper medical attention so they can get it in their record. Not just so they can get in their record, so they can just get the proper treatment. And then maybe later on down the line, if necessary, if they need proof that they were hurt, is in your record. So you got to keep a good, up-to-date medical record.
Oh, true indeed. Most people, they go through the annuals, right? They go through the annual PHAs, and that's it. Right. That's it. They go through physical health assessments, and that's it. They never go to get the care that they deserve, because not all jobs are as physical as in the aviation department. But I will tell you, a lot of jobs are not only physically taxing, but they're also mentally taxing. Right. And we go through these things, and just going through that personal experience yourself, I'm sure that it was mentally taxing on the next person that's assisting you. Right. And we never really understand how that affects the others around you. And it carries over. It can carry over into so many different things. But that's a total different conversation that we'll have. But one thing I do want to highlight is, again, your ultimate quick thinking, and also the leadership that was bestowed upon you. So it sounds like that's a common thread in your career, and it's kind of a common thread that should be intertwined in everyone's career. Right. Because I think for me, being a veteran myself, a lot of leadership was lacked. Not maybe if it's directly or indirectly, but a lot of military members aren't getting the proper leadership they deserve. Now, with you being such a great leader, what do you advise them?
I would advise them that I would say, don't judge your duty station, or don't judge the military by poor leadership, because every now and then you're gonna catch a bad apple. So don't let that one guy ruin your career. You can always go to different departments, or you can look for leadership other places on the ship or at a station. You can go to any chief petty officer, ask them to be a mentor, or you can even first classes. Anybody. Anybody in that leadership role. It doesn't have to be in your department or in your in your realm. It can be anybody. But just make sure you get somebody that cares about you, knowledgeable in what they do, and willing to pass on that information to you. That's going to help you build your career, just build a little bit of everything. So, I had guys in the aviation field. I had guys in the engineering field. Even like what they call it, your career counselors. They give great advice too. So it's help out there. If you need it, just reach out. Don't feel like I don't have anybody in my department or my division that can help me out. You can always step out of that bubble and get help.
Nice. I think that's excellent. That's excellent. All of your background, just kind of giving that information. We really appreciate that, because a lot of times we don't talk about the dangers of direct dangers in the military. We all talk about on enemy fire. Everyone's stuck in a rut here, and just having to sleep on the ground. But we're talking about certain injuries that happens on a day-to-day basis. Again, being on the Midway, I'm sure that there were medical call every morning or evening or afternoon, and I'm guarantee you people were there. But these are the certain injuries and dangers that we don't talk about on a just a day-to-day life living in that type of environment. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. But now we're still in at Sugi here, right? And again, you're carrying on your career. You left the midway, hard charging E5, right? Now with being hard charging E5, you've carried you carried those missions over to your Atsugi days. So now with this injury, where do we start from here? Where are we here in continuation?
Well, after that injury, I really wanted to bounce back. I wasn't gonna let that determine where I was going in life because even though it was an amputation of a couple of fingertips, I just knew, I can keep doing my job. So I wanted to prove that to myself and also prove it to my family. Just to show them that you may get knocked down, but you got to get back up. So I got back up through some good friends in the military, the Navy. People coming to see me up in the hospital. They just brought me back to life. So I had a couple more surgeries. I had a total of maybe it was 5 different surgeries on my fingers, just to get them back up to speed. And then once they get back up to speed, I went back up to Atsugi, worked my way back into to maintenance on the E25. I'm sorry, the E28. The E's would kill me if they heard that. The E28 arresting gear, and also I was working at the air terminal also. I was scheduling flights, not doing maintenance, but ensuring everybody had the proper fuel, scheduling flights, cargo, and stuff like that until my fingers healed. And then I went right back at it. I went and attacked the E28 and mastered it again. And then it was time to leave Japan. So
that was basically a 4-year time stint, or how? Just
actually,
chronologically.
The orders was for 3 years, and I extended for a year because I love Japan. Yeah. To tell you the truth, the respect that we received in Japan was more than we received in the States. At that time, I just felt that they because they believe in honor and dignity. They were just very respectful. So. But I figured for my, for my military status or just for my duties that I had to step it up again and get back out on the ship. So this time I decided to go to an amphibious carrier called the USS New Orleans. I was still at E5. I was still at E5, getting ready to go up to E6, first class petty officer. Yeah. And like I said earlier, my mentality was, wherever I go, make myself irreplaceable. I had a lot of experience with crash and salvage on the Midway, and I worked a little crash and salvage in Atsugi also. Just like I said, I would just go get qualified here and there, just to build my record up, just to show my resume, sort of. So I got stationed on board the USS New Orleans. I was a flight deck guy again. I went up there, and the first thing that one of the officers said, they stuck me in crash and salvage, and they said, we have an inspection coming up with FTG. It's like a main certification for all their equipment and their flight deck. They said, if you can get my crash team up to speed in the next, I think it was like 4 months before the inspection. For some reason, he did this. I didn't know what that meant. But I know if you have 2 chevrons, that was that was the second class. He did this. Yeah. I'm like, okay. He said, you get my team up to speed, we're good to go. So automatically, I just went in there to crash and salvage, and I pretty much, I just took over. On the Midway, we was haze, gray, underway. So that mentality was, you get up on the flight deck, you're gonna work. 19, 20 hours a day, you're gonna work, period. Period. On the amphibious side, there was a little bit more relaxed, not too many jet aircraft, but it was a bunch of helos. So I took over crash and salvage. I whipped them into shape, and next thing you know, about 6 months later, well, about 4 months later, an inspection came, and we passed the inspection. It was a pre-inspection. We did so well that they decided not to come back and give us the actual inspection. They just upgraded us right there on the spot. And that was 4 months, 2 months after that, my bosun walked into the crash shack and shook my hand and said, "You're now a first-class petty officer." So they automatically advanced me. They advanced me to E6.
So just as this is for everyone, so if you understand advancement in the military or in the Navy rather, that feat is not an easy one at all, right? And having a command advancement package being accepted and actually under such duress, right? Because you had to get the crash and salvage team where they needed to go, and being able to do that during that time span and during that time period, that's rough. It's a tough job. I know it had to be.
And actually, I wasn't doing it for the advancement. I was doing it just to get my team ready for a real life incident. Accidents, fires, whatever. I was just getting them prepared. But fortunately, my bosun, he was satisfied with it. He came in and put in that package and advanced me. And I sucked at taking tests anyway. I was probably going to have a hard time taking that first class test. But he opened up that door. I let him in. So, and here's the key thing about it. Just to be considered to be in that program, the Command Advance program, you had to be on the ship over a year. I was only on the ship 6 months. So I get guys that were stationed there for 3 and 4 years up for advancement. That they picked me over them, and I was only in the ship 6 months. So that's how important that job was up there. And just to have that mentality to train and focus and fight, what can I say? I got Command Advance. It really helped my career. Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, just being able to have that advancement without taking a test, as I mentioned before, it's just, kudos to you, because being able to get that opportunity to do that, it is, and you're talking about a ship that has, 2,500 to 5,000 people, and to be selected out of that, where your leadership thought so highly of you, but also your team thought so highly of you, and you're going against other hard chargers, right? It's not saying that you're going against, just this division. No, you're going against other hard chargers that has considerably picked you to go ahead and advance. And congratulations, first and foremost, because being able to, that's incredible. It's like I said, we're sitting here with a living legend. So I want you guys to always understand that the people that we bring on here, they have done some incredible things throughout their career, and we always want to make sure that we take heed of that. So, so during that process of being advanced, how many people were you in charge of during that time frame?
At that time frame, I was in charge of about 15 people. About 15 people, but that expanded right away to around about 126 people. So I could have backed down, could have been nervous, could have been scared, but I wanted that challenge. I wanted to not only prove to myself, but just to prove to everybody. When you're given that opportunity, you got to take it. So that's exactly what I did. I became the flight deck LPO. I was in charge of V1, which includes crash and salvage. And it was a great tour. A matter of fact, during that time frame, that's back when the Persian Gulf War started. So we played a big role in that also.
So, did you guys do deployment?
One of our sister ships, the USS Tripoli, got hit by a mine. That was back in 92, 93 or something like that. They get hit by a mine. And we had to step up our time period to jump up there and relieve them and take on their duties and responsibility as minesweepers, which we had no training of at the time. So we had to learn on our transition up there to the Persian Gulf. We had to, learn what we had to do. We had to retrain everybody in almost everything. So it was a good learning experience, but we had a good crew, good family, because we treated each other like family, period, because we were one team. Not only the flight deck, but the fuelie guys, the red shirts, the brown shirts, you got to be a team, along with the Marines also. So we were all one strong force, one strong unit when it was time to go up there and fight that war. We all came together and went up there and had a few close calls, but we were trained for it. But this was the first war that I ever actually been into. I've been into it with the Soviet Union here and there, launching Alert 5, tracking and, monitoring them. But when it really came down to it, the Persian Gulf War, even though it was short, our military was very powerful and, it made it short, But that was me as a first class on the USS New Orleans.
1526. Tell me right now, your brain wasn't racking like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this?
Once we tell a little bit more stories, I got even more personnel assigned to me. My thing was just, respect, be honest and be respectful. My thing was I knew every position and I didn't like assigning people to do work that I couldn't do or I haven't did before. So fortunately, I had a chance to, learn almost every position because that was my mentality. As I told you earlier, I always wanted to learn more and more, get PQS qualified in everything. So if I miss a day of work, you're going to know I'm gone.
Again, like goes back to saying, make yourself irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
Right. Oh man. So tell me some of the steps that you, I guess, proceed to give yourself, I guess, not necessarily advice, but education. What education did you receive or training that you received going from the 15 to 126 and then further to further leadership? Was there anything particular that you did to prepare yourself, or was there any type of training that you went through to give yourself some, some foundation?
Well, fortunately, the Navy provided a lot of leadership classes that we took. We had just a lot of training, weekly and monthly, just training. But once you get put into a leadership position, you had to go to some type of leadership class or school for like 4 or 5 months, and gave me a chance to get my master training specialist. That helped me with my career too. Just a little bit of everything, and then I had a couple of mentors that had larger departments, and I took a little bit from them. I took a little bit from everybody, and I just put it all together. But the main thing is just you got to treat people with respect, and you got to take care of them because they're just a reflection of you. So that's what I did, and it seemed to turn out okay. All my commands, I still got great friends. I'm not talking just one or two. I'm talking about, multiple people at each command. Just, we remained friendship because we listened to each other. We gave each other advice. We helped mentor each other. I never wanted a yes man around me, and I never wanted to be a yes man. So it all worked hand in hand, and it just built up leadership. But mainly from doing things the right way. And also, when it's time to give somebody a break, because you've been through all the experience. You've been away from home for 6 months at a time, for 10 months at a time. I remember one time we went out to sea on the Midway for, back in the day, it was like 111 days straight. Nobody does that, back in the day. But you just have to take all your experiences, put it into one, and treat people how you want to be treated. And remember the situation you're in right now. The location, you're in the middle of the ocean, you're taking cold showers, not because you want to take a cold shower, because you don't have any hot water. The food is sometimes terrible. You got to do what you can. Sometimes you don't get time to go down for a hot meal. They bring you up a little box lunch for 12 hours, once you become a leader, you just got to put all that into one. Because everybody's not going to be on top of their game every single day. So you have to know when to give people breaks, and you know how much you can push them, you know how much you got to give them a break, but most of all, you got to take care of them. And as you advance, you got to make sure you're team advance too. That's how it should be. And in most cases, that's how it's been for me ever since I was in the military. Anybody that ever worked for me or we worked together, we all advanced together.
That's crucial. That's crucial. Um, I don't even think how much value that provided. Because most people, that's going to go over their head. Being able to provide that compassion, being able to provide that direction, and how they're going to be able to provide for the family even further. And you were able to provide that to your understudies. So again, that's amazing. So being a great leader has always been in kind of your back pocket. So, but with that, you go from now that 126, right? Now, I'm sure further endeavors. But before we get there, you got to talk to me about that 111-day stint that you did out. That's tough. I mean, usually, typically, it's every 30 days, right? That you should hit a report every 30 to 50 something odd days, or 40, 50 something odd days. That's a little even extreme itself. So tell me about that.
Truthfully, that's just where your leadership, your friendship that you made, back in the day, it was all male ship. Oh, wow. So you have to have a good, strong leadership. You have to have friends. You know how the sleeping quarters are. We tight. But that's where you just build up a team, because you got to push each other. Because every day is like, it's not like you go to sleep. It's like a little nap. Mm-hmm. You take a nap, you up, you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over. 111 days. Sometimes we would go weeks and weeks without mail. It wasn't no internet. It wasn't no iPhones. The old days we wrote letters back and forth. I remember writing letters back and forth. To my girlfriend at the time, right? It'd be like 2 weeks I didn't get a letter. So I'll write her something bad. What, you found somebody else? Da. And next thing you know, we get a mail with 15,000 pounds of letters. Yeah. Backdated from 2-3 months. You just never know, because we was dealing with the mail system going overseas. So it was terrible. But I have to say, one motto of the Midway, we used to call it Midway Magic. We always made it happen. So to this day, some of my best friends are still over in Japan, living in Japan. And we still associate, we still, call, Facebook, whatever. We still keep in contact, because we went through some hard times. We made it through as a team, as a family aboard the Midway. And, another funny thing about the Midway is that I became a volunteer on the Midway last year, because they're home ported down in San Diego right now as a museum. So it was nice to go back and give back to the community a little bit, just reaching back out. But that 111 days, you got to do what you got to do. In today's Navy, we got some pretty powerful ships that can stay out even longer than that. But the living conditions is a lot better now. You can FaceTime home almost every night if you want to. So it makes it better. Yeah. But I don't know if it makes it weaker or stronger, but it makes it a little bit better.
That's to be determined still, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah. I've heard, I don't know, obviously, but they have Wi-Fi on the ships now. You got obviously iPhone. I was in that transitional area. I didn't get any Wi-Fi. We had computers though. We had the library computers, but they seldomly work, right? You couldn't even call. You had to have the ship phones. That seldomly work. So, but I can only imagine 111 days. It's just tough on the mental. It's tough on the psyche. It's tough on the body. It's tough in just general purposes, and just generally. Right, I always call it the Groundhog Day. Right, it's just it's the same thing over and over and over again, but it's a routine. Right, transitioning some of those aspects of what you do on a day-to-day basis, you get a little bit closer and closer to your dreams. you know. And most people are, when they're going through that grind or that Groundhog Day, they don't necessarily see it. But I think this is why a lot of veterans become, you know, are that can become great entrepreneurs, great at anything that they do, because they are understand that these small, smart goals are getting me to the overall larger goal.
That's great.
You know, but with that, you know, anytime that we went out for long deployments, you seen that basically the ranks or the people that were in trouble, right, who were on restriction that could not leave the ship or had extra duty. You just say them, get them larger, larger. Man, being deployed for so long, was that something that you guys seen on the Midway, or?
Every day, you know, every day they had to muster like 3 times a day. You know, they had a roll call like 3 times a day, and it just grew. It just grew because you get so frustrated. Sometimes you get people to just try and press your button, and sometimes they press that button and they get knocked out. You know, you have fights, you have a little bit of everything, but we have security to take care of that. But like I said, it's just like a city. It's just like a city. You're gonna have your troublemakers, and you're gonna have you know, people getting in trouble, but you're gonna have people also doing the right thing. And you also gotta understand as a leader that you gotta deal with everybody a little different. You wanna treat everybody fair, but you know, you may have somebody just open up a letter and get a Dear John letter, or somebody passed away and it's just not his day. You got to learn how to recognize that and, you know, handle it accordingly. So it can happen to anybody. You know, when I was in Atsugi, my father passed away. And my team above me, my leadership above me, they handled that so well. I just remember that throughout the rest of my career. You know, how I felt when I got that news and how my command treated me. And it just, nothing makes it better, but it did make it go by a little better because I had, you know, a good team that just took care of everything. A good team that really cared about it. And I just kept that in my bag, and whenever I needed to put that out, you know, it was just natural, you know, because things happen, you know, and you just gotta be compassionate as a leader, you know, just a person, period, you know, because it can happen to anybody. So
True indeed. And then just being in these tight quarters, as you mentioned, you know, they don't only become your leaders, they become father figures, mother figures, brothers, sisters, cousins. They become, you know, I may have someone in the engineering department. I may not see you for 3 months because of your work schedule, my work schedule, and we're in the same place. And then it's like seeing that cousin that you see that comes around but you love them. Yep. You love them so much. You at that point you get the chance to catch up. You get a chance to be on the mess decks and, you know, talking mess and different things of that nature, and enjoying your time. So yeah, that's great. That's great. You know, I wish more more people in positions of yourself would show things of that nature. So, but this is one of the reasons, another reason why a lot of veterans can become great entrepreneurs or great leaders in organizations. And we always want to highlight that because again, a lot of these organizations tend to shy away from the veteran because of their experiences. But in all actuality, that veteran, you may never find another worker like him.
Right, because we're trained. You know, we're trained and we're trainable. You know, we've been around the world. You know, we dealt with you know, all different types of race and religions. You know, we know how we want to be treated. We're very respectful, and I think military members, veterans, if you give any of them a chance, they're going to do right by you. Wow. They're motivated, you know, and they're loyal. So I would hire a veteran. If I had my own business, I would hire a veteran in a heartbeat, because I know, you know, it's a brotherhood anyway. You know, it's a brother and sisterhood, you know, from the Marines, Army, Air Force, Navy. You know, it's just one team because we've been there. We don't have similar experiences, and I know what I can bring out of them. And I get that also. When I first got out, when I tried to get a job, you know, they were willing because I had that, you know, experience, that leadership experience, and not only leadership, it's just they know I started from the bottom, and I worked my way up to be a leader. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, speaking of that, now when you being now with you having that title, LPO, right? Now tell me a little bit about that experience of having those same people that you work with being in charge of it, being in charge of them. Was that ever a rough experience at any point in time?
Of course, they thought it was the buddy thing. Yeah, we buddies. We went out last night together. Da, da, da. As soon as you distinguish that work is work, play is play. Once you have that mentality, I don't care if you're if I'm a E9 and you're E3, just as long as you know the difference between work and play. When we at work, we work. When we out playing, we don't party hard. I taught my guys to party smart. Party smart. When you get back to work hard. Period. We may be out that night, but I expect to see you at morning muster on time, clean uniform, press, ready to go. No favoritism, nothing like that. Not, I got a hangover or we was out last night, you know what we was doing. No, you come to work, you work. And then you got your good friends, but you know who's really your friend. They don't try and take advantage of your position. I would never take advantage of one of my friends that's my supervisor position. Oh, we're buddy, let me have a day off or give me an easy assignment. No. You still want to go in there because you're representing him and you're representing yourself. You got to go in there and, you still got to work hard. Take the hard assignments. Don't let your leadership down. You're dependent on him, but he's dependent on you also. And that's the same with friendship too. Never take advantage. Value that. That's the way I live my life, I guess.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so now you're transitioning, right? You have gotten to the point where we're at you've got your LPO tag. Now, how's that transition going from E6 putting on the khakis? Where did that start? How did that happen?
Oh, E6 to khakis, that was a dream. That was like a dream come true. But I planned from day one when I got command advanced to first class, E6. I was already looking at the next level, even though there's a time period you have to wait. It was like 3 or 4 years you have to wait before you go up for chief. Right then and there, I started getting more qualifications and started getting more like my surface pen, my air pen, just every qualification you can think of. But that was my MO already. Like I said, I know I keep saying it, but make yourself irreplaceable. So once I got that title, I noticed that every like 2 years we had a major inspection coming up. By that time it was FTG, which was about to transition over to become ATG, Fleet Training Group, that's FTG. They would go out and they would certify all the aircraft carriers and the small ships, the amphibious ships, certify their flight deck. I don't care if you're on a small board and you got one spot where you can rep food into. You got to go aboard and you got to certify that. Or you go aboard a carrier and you got to certify the whole entire flight deck. So you look at all the operations to make sure they're doing it correctly. From firefighting to crash and salvage to fueling aircrafts to just doing a regular respot. A respot is when you prepare to launch and you just put everything in order to launch, different responses. What actually happened is when I was aboard the USS New Orleans, 6 months, I told you I got capped to first class command advance. And for the next 4 years, we had 3 major inspections to certify the deck. And each time I was in charge and we got upgraded the first time. Over a pre-look again, they upgraded us, so we got a certification. Second time came around, exact same thing. I took care of the air department, we got upgraded again. third time came around, I was about to transfer, and I had orders in hand to go work over 32nd Street. The team came aboard. They came aboard. They did another inspection, and they remembered me from the previous two, and they upgraded the air department again, and they asked me to join the team. So even though I had orders, it was one of them, one of them elite teams, elite inspection team. You got AirPack and you got FTG at the time. So they offered me a job. And I didn't know they could do that. I thought you had to call your detailer and you arrange to get orders to go to another command. So like I said, I had orders in hand already to go to 32nd Street just to work at the firefighting house. But they came aboard. I was in first class, and they said, we'd like for you to come work for us over at ATG since you're doing just a good job over here, FTG. And I told them, sure, what are the qualifications? Well, they said, well, originally you have to be E7, you have to be a chief petty officer. We don't allow any first classes to go over there. I'm over here in the first class uniform, why are they talking to me then? They said, but we want to make an exception with you. We want to bring you over and let you join our team.
Incredible.
So they made all the calls. I say about 3 weeks later, I was transferring, going over to FTG, and that put me in a position to go and inspect every aircraft in the Pacific Fleet, over in Japan, Hawaii, every ship in San Diego, Birmingham, Washington. So I was an inspector. I was flying around, doing inspections as a first class, and that led me up to picking up chief.
Wow, man, that's freaking incredible. So you were able to get it has to be chiefs and above that you're inspecting. You did such an amazing job at what you did with multiple ships because they recognize you and remember you over the time period. And this is where I'd say, this is where, again, pinpointing that, where it's like, hey, you are Mr. Anthony Berry, first class at this point in time. It's nothing but high marks, high regards, and becoming irreplaceable, and not only doing a good job, nothing but excellence. It had to be. And this is where I think a lot of times we go into the military. What happens is you get with a group of other sailors, right? Their mentality. A lot of people aren't thinking like that. What made you think like that?
I sort of seen that mentality firsthand aboard New Orleans. I didn't know why people joined the Navy to come in and have the same mentality as they had out, in Atlanta or Chicago, to try and be hard or to brag about doing this. You're supposed to go in there and try and better yourself. I couldn't figure that out. I always ask myself, why do people come in and, is not willing to adapt and learn and better themselves? Yeah. And for some reason, I just had it, my mindset was I wanted to better myself, period. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or nothing like that. It just, why wouldn't you want to better yourself? Yeah. Why wouldn't you want to make a career? Why wouldn't you want to make money? Get a good education? Why not? It's all part of growing up and getting more mature. Like in high school, my mindset wasn't like that. My mindset was just out there having a good time, barely making it through high school. But as you grow, you're supposed to get smarter. Yeah. And if you don't, something is wrong. So you gotta have that right leadership. Of course, parents come in hand, but for me, it was just sort of natural to go in and be competitive and try and, move up that chain, and I have to admit, I did have some good mentors, some of my E7s, first classes, and just friends, kept me in the right path. So, we're supposed to pass that on through our youth and our other sailors or Marines or Army people to, pass it on because we all need to be pushed sometimes. So.
True indeed. So were there in during that time frame though, we talk about sailors or soldiers or airmen and now that get mixed up in the wrong things. I've had experience where we had sailors gangbanging in service, you know, or different things of that nature. I think it's incredible because you work for the federal government. You're a property of the military, right? So it's so many different crazy things that go on and transpire in there. Were there any type of temptation or things that you went through that almost swayed you in a different direction?
I can't say that it really swayed me that much, but you know how it is. You always want a nice car. It's all it's the little stuff now. You want to look nice clothes because you're seeing other people do this and do this. It sort of influenced me a little bit, but I was never, like a criminal or anything like that. But I've been around stuff like that. I know that's the easy way to go about it, and nothing good comes easy. You have to work hard. And then it comes a little bit easier. But you got to put time into it. So I just told myself it's not worth it. Like we talked about the restricted people, it's not worth it. Going to work, working overtime, being restricted, it's not worth it, and you don't want to let yourself down. You want to let your community down. You don't want to let your family down, and just your people around you. You're supposed to be the role model. You're supposed to be the next up and coming. So I try to stay away from it, but a lot of times it's just right there, right in front of your face. And that's when you just got to be strong. You got to make the correct decisions. Like I said, I'm not no angel. I'm just a aviation bosun mate. I've been in a little trouble here and there, nothing too serious, nothing I couldn't bounce back from. But what it boils down to is I made the right decisions. And it's a lot easier to make right decisions than to make them difficult, bad decisions and just be like, well, whatever happened, happens. I try and play the odds right, and I try to make good decisions. Like I said, I'm not perfect. I don't screw it up a lot, but still nothing too bad.
Got you. Okay, cool. So now with that being said, so now we're in the khaki uniform, ATG, and now I got to call it for what it is. Now you're big dogging it, right? The Chiefs run the Navy. That's what they say. I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll have an officer in this seat saying otherwise. But so now you have had the opportunity to be able to join ATG and getting ready to transition to that khaki standpoint. Now it was a journey getting there, and now when you're there, what are some of those pinpointed experience going from E6 to E7 that you can really hone on?
Well, I think it came with the amount of responsibility. When I first went to ATG as a first class, I really wasn't in charge of nobody. I was low man on a totem pole. So I was like an E1 again because I worked with chiefs, senior chiefs, and master chiefs, and one officer. So I was always low man on a totem pole, but fortunately I was a ABH at the time, aviation boatswain handler. And we had for the inspection team, we had the largest department. We had V1 and V3. So even though I was a E6 at the time, I would still go aboard, and I was holding the position of E7. So I would go aboard, and I still had all the responsibilities. I had a huge responsibility. A matter of fact, when we used to show up for the meetings, it was like two chiefs, the senior chief and the master chief, and myself. And like I said, I had the largest portion. We roll up, I had my little briefcase, and everybody thought I was the driver because, you're not supposed to have an E6 on. So they thought I was the driver, and they treated me as a driver. Oh, wow. And I just found that like a little form of, they sort of prejudged me, sort of a little bit of prejudice. So I was like, okay, this is how they want to treat me. I'm going to show them who I really am. So I go aboard, I do my inspection, I treat everybody fair. I work with a lot of different people, a lot of different ranks all the way up to the captain, because all my debriefs were with the captain and above. So they gave me a chance to work my way in there a little bit. But once I made chief, changed. It was like night and day. It was like one day you was in a E6 uniform, next day you're in khakis, and you're supposed to know it all. I mean, as soon as you put them on, you walk into a space, people are going to start talking to you, asking you questions, because, like you said, the chiefs, the ones that they say run the Navy, which they do run the Navy. Well, at least that's what we teach our people, because they started from the bottom, they worked their way all the way up. So they pretty much run the Navy. Just the responsibility and the trust worthy within that person, it just goes up, because if you say something, your word is good as gold. They always say ask the chief. If you got a problem, you got a question, ask the chief, and he's supposed to have the answer. So I just had to, it's some pretty big shoes to wear, but I just had to squeeze my feet in them and, wear them big shoes. And it turned out all right, because I just kept that same mindset, hard work, dedication, and make yourself irreplaceable. I know I keep saying that, but it works every time. Even when I got the ATG as a E6, I still took other classes to better myself with the fueling system, with the resting gear again. I got qualified in all that. And it didn't pay off until probably 6-7 years later. But it came back to when I was at ATG, I made chief there, and then I went away, I made senior chief. I came back to ATG again, and I made master chief at ATG. I'm not gonna say it was a little luck, but I didn't plan it. It's just the way it turned out, because hard work and dedication, and just the timing was perfect, and I just took advantage of every opportunity possible. And that's the key, as you said, how did it feel? How did people treat you when you jumped out of this uniform to this uniform? Nothing but respect, because some people seen your journey, and once you open up and you try and lead them in the right path also, it all works out fine. So you're stepping up, your leadership and your mentorship is supposed to step up also. So you got to open yourself up and make yourself available so you can help lift up everybody else. It's difficult at times, but sometimes it's just in your DNA after a certain point, because that's just you as a person. So all that training and mentorship, that's just you as a person. I don't think about, I'm going to go here, I'm going to try and mentor everybody. This, that, that. It just happened naturally, Yeah. So it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just basically, hearing your story, it tells me that how great you are. So again, it just my experience. This is not everyone's military experience is a lot different. I never had the opportunity to really sit down and speak with any of my khakis. Right, I got the chance to talk to them when they're in their first class uniform or their second class uniform, but never really having a real open door, real conversations with them. Right. And it sounds like you always had an open door policy where people can, come speak with you, deal with their gripes, and so you can make things better for the people. Mm-hmm. Was that something that you think got you from chief to master chief so quickly, or was it something else?
That's the key right there. That one phrase was that open door policy. That's been my policy forever. If you need help, I'm here for you, period. That's always been my policy, and it just seems to work, because as I was coming up, I could always go to my chief of first class and talk to him, because they had open door policy. So I'm so glad you brought that up, because that always stayed in the back of my mind, and that helped me when I was sort of like command advanced to command master chief. Without going to senior enlistment academy or command master chief school, I just got command advance on the spot to CMC. So that's because I had open door policy, and when actually that's another story. But actually, when my captain came and asked me would I be his new command master chief, my title went from, I think I had about 197 in my department at the time.
Okay.
When the captain came and asked me, my role went up to like 1,200 Marines, no, 1,200 sailors, 1,500 Marines.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I just took advantage of that because of the open door policy.
Okay.
And I actually asked the captain, how would you like me to run your ship? And he said, I want you to run it the same way you run B-1 Division. I see you guys on deck, and what I see is a big family out there. He said, turn my whole ship into a family. I said, no problem, sir. So I just went with that mentality, just went in and got together with all the departmental master chiefs and senior chiefs and chiefs, had a few meetings, just brought everybody together as a team, and seemed to work out well. I know we sort of got a little bit off track there.
Oh, no. Listen, I love it because we're talking about, again, these opportunities. It sounds like they're approaching you because you put yourself in spaces no one will be in.
Right. And you should never turn down an opportunity. Never be scared in your abilities because that person asking you, he believes in you already. Now you just got to believe in yourself a little bit more and take on that responsibility in that role. And that's what I did, because I could have easily walked away from the captain and told him no, because he just walked up to me one day. We was pulling out of some foreign port. It could have been Singapore, I believe. And he just walked up to me and said, Master Chief Barry. I said, yes, sir. He said, Master Chief Barry, this is exactly how it went. He said, Master Chief Barry, the command master chief has been relieved of his duties. He'll be flying off the ship in the next 45 minutes. And I was shocked. I said, yes, sir. And he said, Master Chief Barry, I want you to take over and be the command master chief. So I just popped on and said, yes, sir. And I walked away. And then I turned back around and he was smiling at me. And I thought I heard, I was sort of shocked.
Yeah.
I didn't know, I was just responding, with respect. Then I thought about it. I turned around and I said, sir, did you just say the command master chief is leaving and you wanted me to be the new command master chief? He said, yes, sir. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say no, because it was my last Westpac and I wanted to go out in style. I wanted to go out and just have a ball on this last Westpac.
Yeah.
My last ship, last Westpac, I was excited. But it was an opportunity I couldn't turn down, because, like I said, when you step into them shoes as command master chief, you have to go to a senior enlistment academy first. You have to go to command master chief school. That can take over a year for that whole process. But he just picked me out of the blue. But it wasn't out of the blue. It was because of my performance and my departmental and my separate 3 divisions performance. So everything just turned out right. So you just never turn down opportunities. Don't be scared. Like I said earlier, they believe in you already. You got to believe in yourself now. So that's how I became a command master chief.
It sounds like, I've seen this great quote by Deion Sanders, right? He was prime time. And I just love what he's doing over in Colorado there. But what he was saying is, it was so great. It was, even though the light is not on you, keep making it.
If you turn that back, it's all about integrity. You're always doing the right thing, even though nobody's looking. Yeah. So you always do the right thing and you keep making plans.
So so now we're at Command Master Chief. You're pretty much, there's nothing else, right? You're the Command Master Chief. You have the respect, you have the title, you have the position, right? In this position, were there, before you went to CMC school or Command Master Chief school, what was going through your mind? Outside of the shock, of the relief of the previous Master Chief, but what was going through your mind in that transition? Because I'm sure you're dealing with a lot there, right? You were expecting to go out on your last Westpac. I'm sure you have family. You have a lot of juggling different things. You could have been transitioning to retirement, right? Because you're about the 20-year mark, or close to the 20-year mark.
Actually, I was right there. I was about to retire. I wanted to retire because I was a single father at the time. I'm juggling 3 kids, going on deployment. That was supposed to be my last. That been one of that was supposed to be my last cruise. And like I said, I wanted to go out on top, see the country, see the world one more time, and call it quits. But when that opportunity came up, I had to take it. That was just in my DNA now. I just I wasn't satisfied. Well, I was satisfied being a Master Chief, but I knew it was still one more step I wanted to go through. And but I knew that I had family at home that had other responsibilities. So I had dedicated, almost 30 years to, being the best sailor I could be, and also dedicated trying to be the best father I can be. But it was time for me to let it go and concentrate on the kids a little bit more because they were in high school, getting ready to go to middle school and stuff like this. So that was all in my mind too. What should I do? Should I take this position? Because I was his command master chief, but after everything was said and done after that tour, he wanted me to follow him to another command. And for me to follow him to another command, I would have to go to that other schools and get fully qualified to take over. And that's when I told myself, I think it's time to slow it down. A lot of my dreams have been fulfilled. I want to see my girls and my son grow up and be responsible, loving adults. Yeah. So that's when I stepped back and decided to go ahead and retire because I only had like 16 months left. So I could have went to school and stayed probably another 4 to 6 years to make it 30, to make it, well, not 36, maybe 34 years.
34 years.
Yeah, so I was like, that's, I think I've achieved everything. But had a great captain on the USS Boxer. I did stay there for a solid 6 years, though.
Was that your longest command?
That's my longest command. Tours are usually like 4 years, but I extended twice. Great command, great leadership. We just broke a lot of records. We did everything. The crew was great.
Nice.
But it's good when you can say the crew is great on all your ships. Yeah. So.
Nice. Sound like you guys were Showtime Lakers out there, or Charger.
Oh, yeah.
Killing it.
Oh, yeah. We did it all. We partied smart, played hard. We had a great time. Great group of people to be with, and not only just the ABs. You got your engineering, you got a little bit of everybody. Yeah. You just got to mix and mingle and get to know a little bit of everybody and learn about them, learn their stories, and become friends because it's going to last a lifetime because you get all kinds of, hookups, referrals. You just got everything. Once you get out the military, it even opens up more. So, you got executives of companies wanting to hire you left and right because of your military experience. Just knowing your rank that you were at that time, they want your skills.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's a very hard adjustment, right? For most military. You identified a great point when you said, discussing, the respect aspect, having the respect for others, whether if you're the low man on the totem pole or the high man on the totem pole. But you always were able to show respect, right? And a lot of times respect is given in the military based upon automatic rank, right? You have there's that hierarchy, that is a strict hierarchy you must stay in between. But in civilian life, things change. You're no longer Master Chief, right? In my eyes, listen, I get it. Listen, you're Master Chief here. But for civilians doing that transition, it's very hard to adjust. Were there any type of situations transitioning out of service that you feel comfortable sharing that you dealt with going from Master Chief to civilian?
Well, going from Master Chief to a civilian is like night and day. You know, you had so much respect in the Navy, but as soon as you step out, you're just you're a civilian again. You know, you got to build that back up because nobody knows what your rank was in the military. You don't wear it on your arm anymore. You don't wear it on your sleeves. You got to go and you got to build that back up, and it's hard because a lot of civilians, they don't understand what you went through. They don't understand being away from the family, being on deployment. They never even imagined anything like that. The danger you put yourself in. Just out there representing the USA. Being over in like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Russia, Africa, just being around the world is different. I came out, I didn't demand respect, but I still got a certain amount of respect once they see that ID card. But it's still so different. Like say getting medical attention up at the VA. Back in the day, Master Chief E6, E7, E8, you get head of line privilege. You go right to the front of the line. You know what I mean? You go to the VA now, you picking a number. You're gonna come up with 968, and you're gonna sit down, and it's gonna take a while. Yeah. It's gonna take a while. So, still, the way I built friendship and respect, I treat people how I want to be treated. So people know right off the bat. You treat them with respect, you should get it back. If you don't, you don't lower your standards. You just you move on to the next. But you learn from that lesson too. Next time you see them, maybe you just don't, recognize them anymore. Just let them go by. But it's definitely going to change. Don't think you're going to walk out with that same title or respect. You got to get back out there and you got to earn it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's just a different world. We used to go into work, busting our butts. Period. Mm-hmm. We don't need a job description. We go in and we get the job done, what's assigned to us. Yeah. These days, people go to work, they have a job description. They don't want to step out of that boundary. They don't want to work 2 minutes overtime. But then again, I can't talk too bad about civilians because I am a civilian. But it's hard to sort of like put it into words,
just ultimately having that.
It is a change.
Yeah.
It is a huge change.
Yeah, I mean, just ultimately having that background, right? Is because you talk about 30 years, 30 years, that's a long time. If you do 30 years in anything, that is pretty much your life, right? And then transitioning from that to civilian, it gets very difficult, whether if it's straining physically, mentally, and emotionally, right? Because it goes into so many different components because just because you don't necessarily demand respect, you're used to having it in certain areas. Right. And and when we're talking about respect, I want everyone to understand we're not talking about in a manner bowing down to us or anything of that nature, but it is a certain level of a baseline of what you're used to receiving. Mm-hmm. Right. So that aspect, right. Even, having to do your job at a high level and a high standard, there is nothing less than excellence that you proceed to have in your career. So now trying to transition to somewhere that is okay with subpar, that's very hard to get used to.
Yeah, that's very hard because in the military, I think I can speak for our branches that we believe in attention to detail. We want things done right, correctly the first time around, if possible. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Quality may go up and down a little bit, but we want people to do their best. Yeah. No shortcuts, because when you do shortcuts, it leads into accidents. I've been in one accident. I can't say that I actually took a shortcut, but I shouldn't have had that rag tied around my hand, period. Maybe that was a shortcut. I'm not sure. I really never analyzed it like that. But we're trained attention to detail. So that's one big, huge difference between, I would say, between civilians in military because we want the job done the right time, the first time.
And that's just on the kind of identifying the adjustment in the job performance, right? There's so many different things that we can highlight, but again, you guys can stay tuned for another show in regards to that. We'll be able to highlight, and identify certain components of why military members have a tough time adjusting. We don't talk about certain really, really jarring things, right? Such as mental health, such as, veterans issues. And we want to really talk about that type of stuff. But with that, I do want to kind of end our segment with one more question, right? So how many deployments did you do?
You know what? I can't even remember. Because when I was on the Midway, it seemed like every time we put out, we were gone. We were in the wind, period. We was the hazy gray and underway. And when you tack on the New Orleans and the Boxer over 6 years, it just seems like it was so much routine. I've been in so many different little wars and missions that, sometimes I try not to think about it for the mental health reasons a little bit. Some good memories, some bad memories. Sometimes the eyes are just not trained to see certain things that you've seen. It becomes a bit of PTSD. So I really don't keep in I try to sort of leave that in the past a little bit until I get around my military buddies and we actually get into deep discussion and then it just open up doors. But like you said, sometimes we don't like to discuss it with civilians because they really don't know. So we try and keep a lot of that inside of us, which we need to let it go sometime because once it builds up, you never know. But sometimes it's just good to have old friends to,
bring back some of those memories, right?
Get back into the memories, when we were, 100 pounds lighter, what we used to do in Thailand and stuff like that. But they're good memories that I like to share with military friends. You got some military background, so it's good to be here to discuss all this, to sort of tell my story a little bit. I got a lot of different versions, but but all good. Good times. Just.
Well, I'll ask you this. Out of all the times you've been out to sea, give us your best story.
My best story, I wouldn't say out to sea. I said at a foreign port.
Okay.
One of my greatest stories is just on a Boxer visiting Dubai, just the Middle East. Because actually I was over there during the Persian Gulf War too. So I've seen the bad and the good, and I also seen Dubai grow from maybe 7 skyscrapers to what it is right now. That view right now is crazy. It's just so many opportunities over there, and I had such good times over there. So one of my stories, it's about 117 degrees. About 117 degrees. Me and a couple fellows was out drinking the night before. We in a taxi. We decided to go, see what we can get into. At 117, we sweating like dogs and cats. What did we decide to do? What anybody would do. Look for a little bit of air conditioning. So we decided to go snowboarding. So that's what we did. We went to the mall, and these genius people up there, they got an indoor ski resort with snow, ski slope, people skiing, snowboarding. You got to get in there. You got to put on your whole, ski outfit because it's windy and everything. So that was a pretty wild story, and I thought that was amazing that you can get a chance to get in there and go snowboarding. Who does that? So that's just a story I like to tell people. From 117 degrees, getting out in a taxi to freezing inside, snowstorm, going down hills and slopes.
Yeah, I mean, in that mall, exactly that mall. It's a mall in Dubai. It's just incredible. It's great that you say that because I know exactly which mall you're speaking about, right? I mean, this you go to different parts of the mall, right? It has different countries,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just incredible.
It's it's crazy, and to tie that on, the next port was what was it? Was it? I can't think of it, but I had a chance to within this port, which was by Jerusalem. I had a chance to go snorkeling in the Red Sea, and then I had a chance. 2 days later, I was floating in the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea has such a salt intense that nothing can go underwater. You know, it floats. Um, you know, we are just floating on the Dead Sea. So, and then after that, I went to go see where Jesus was baptized, and that was amazing too. And then on the way home, the market, the housing market dropped. You know, it exploded. It bursted. Put it like that. And then I came back home, and since I visited all them places, especially where Jesus was born, for the next year I had the best luck ever. Even though the housing market crashed, I was able to stay in my house. Um, you know, it gets a little personal. They lowered everything to allow me to stay in the house. They really helped out the military. So that right there, that was just amazing time to do all that in 1 year. In 1 year to visit all them different ports, to go see where Jesus was baptized and the prayer, and get back to San Diego and the market crash and foreclosure rate is all around. Yeah. And I was able to stay in my house and build up the equity again and live happily ever after. And that's what I noticed about V4V, that you guys break off. You do more than just benefits. You help out veterans and home loans too. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, because everything you guys are doing, I just back it up 100% because you guys are really helping our veterans. And I appreciate it, because I got a lot of friends that I have referred for even mortgages and also benefits. So, and that's just not trying to toot your horn, but I am tooting your horn a little bit because, I'm sort of like in the military, especially in the AB rank, your name is worth something, So if I try and put my reputation on something, it's because I believe in it. So I believe in your company. So
Well, thank you so much, MC Master Chief. It's such a great honor to have you here. We really appreciate all your insight, all your wisdom that you bestowed upon us. We really appreciate everything because, to be very frank with you, we really need more like you. We really need more like you. And this show is to honor those who have honored us. And we always want to make sure that we're able to display a platform so you can talk, so you can tell your story and give it to others so you can be able to help them and continue to serve, because that's what you have done your entire career, and also made yourself irreplaceable and been able to garner high rankings all the way to the Command Master Chief. So with that being said, aviation bosun mate, what CMC, now we got aviation warfare qualified, master training specialist, surface warfare qualified. Listen, the titles continue to go on and on and on. And you have really displayed nothing but honor to your country and nothing but honor to us. And we really appreciate you. So with that being said, thank you so much. And with that, prepare to compete. We're out.